own car company in Dubai, which is something that very few people have attempted to do. It's a very brave thing to do. But today I've managed to find three different companies who have tried to start car companies, and all of them are very close to unleashing the first UAE built car. So I'd like to start without any further ado. Everybody else walking by, please sit down, take a load off, and listen to us talk about how to start a car company. So my first guest is an expert in applied research field experience related to vehicles and materials, engineering and transport safety. He works with Charlie Motorsport. He is the founder, chief technical officer, and many degrees, 3 in total. He is in fact Mustafa Al. I'll give him a big warm round of applause, people. It's coming up on stage. Thank you for joining us, Mustafa. Yes, you can. You're actually sitting in my chair, but that's fine over there. It's a good start. Our second guest is Mohammed Al Qadi, a major figure in local motorsports, and has worked at the Autodrome in Yasmin, and now is at Zarouk Motors. Great. And our final guest, but certainly not the least, is the UAE's leading car designer, and has worked a number of cars, including the Leica and the Fenrir cars that you can see at the Dubai Motor Show. And his latest project is a car that bears his own name. I'd like to give a warm round of applause for Anthony Generelli. Thanks, folks. We are talking how to start your own car company, an incredibly brave thing to do, because we've seen hundreds of cars at the Dubai Motor Show from companies all around the world, and it takes a lot of guts to go out there and think that you can do one better than them. So the idea is to focus on a car perhaps that has something a little bit different. So once we all have our mics, everybody have our mics?
I think so.
Okay, well thanks a lot. We'll get started cracking straight away. I think all of you come from very different backgrounds and very different, let's just say, stories in life. What kind of person decides to go into car manufacturing? I mean, even Elon Musk is having some severe issues at the moment. So what kind of person would take that leap? Mustafa, let's start with you.
The first word that jumps to mind is crazy. You have to be a little bit out there.
You don't look crazy at all, though. You look like a very sane person.
Crazy. Yes, I don't look crazy, but I do have amazing thoughts. Many things, again, that come together to make a car. You need engineering, you need design, you need analysis, you need testing. So there are so many steps to the process. But bear in mind, when Gottlieb Daimler, when Carl Benz started out in 1880 something, they didn't have all that. All they started with was a bicycle and some bike wheels and a very determined wife who was willing to drive their contraption.
Did you start with the bicycle as well?
So no, we started with some decent wheels actually. So we thought we'd start basic, start with something.
But you're getting ahead of yourself. I want to know about you, because what made you do it?
Well, let's say, okay, you need to be entrepreneurial, you need to be willing to take some risks, you need to have a very understanding family, again, who are also willing to take some
Big
risks.
word, understanding family.
Yes. With all these things put together, again, you need to put in the long hours, you need to put in a lot of money into it, and eventually you will see some results.
So it's a lot of effort to turn a lot of money into a lot less money, isn't it, to start with?
Yeah, you start off with a big pile of money and you end up with...
Because you have a very demanding day job, I know, and you spend every other hour you have at Charlie Motorsport.
Yes, yeah, but it keeps me sane as well, because it's good to work on different things, it's not very healthy to concentrate on one thing all the time, so that helps.
So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, a sane man telling us about how he is trying not to go crazy by building the UAE's first roadster. Anthony, you worked on some cars that we've seen in films like Fast and the Furious. You have quite the CV. So why start your own car company with your name on it?
If you want the truth, actually I don't really know. It's, I guess it's just by chance in a way. Sometimes in life you follow a path, and at some point you meet some people, and as I explained many times, actually this project was really like a personal project. And
it has your name on it, so yes, it is a personal project.
Yeah, but really, I wanted to make one car for me, and it started. Then it became a business without really noticing it. What we wanted is we worked on it, and at some point we just communicated to see if there are some guys who like us who want this type of cars, and we got a lot of attractions. And then we really face the truth and say, okay, let's start a business out of that.
So have you always been a car designer? I mean, that's every kid's dream, is to start doodling and creating cars. What made you go out there and actually take the risk? I mean, what was your background?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit the same cliche as everybody. You know, when you're a kid, you keep doing all the time, and I was quite good at school, so I went to study engineering, mechanical engineering. And then actually I went totally in another direction and worked in jewelry when my family was based.
You worked in jewelry?
Yeah.
Wait, that's how you made the money. Right. Problem solved.
I got some maybe different ideas, like the ideas in the like kind of the jewels in the land. And I think it helps to broaden your views, not to be just like a typical car designer. And by chance again, I don't know, I met Ralph, the founder of Dolly Motors, where we are studying at university, and he had this project, and so that's why he drove me here actually in Dubai. And then it's just a story of meeting people and.
So for you could say it's been a story that's a stream that's led you to this point right now. It's been not a lot of very crazy decisions. There's been a lot of very careful, thought-out moves to this point, and chance meetings perhaps along the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's. Maybe the problem with the designer is like you don't think too much about business straight away. You think about what you would like to see on the road, what you would like people to have in their home, in their garage, and then you think of the business later on.
Cool. And finally, Mohammed, you are building the Sand Racer. What kind of person are you that decides to build a car called the Sand Racer? Because I've always wanted to build a car called the Sand Racer, but nobody ever let me. They all said I'm crazy. Why have you got the chance and I don't?
First of all, I would like to answer the first question, why build a car? Why not? I think everybody will agree, why not building it? It's your own dream. We are actually a real petrolhead, and that's why we want something. First of all, we understand the market better, and we believe, and we're trying to fill up the gaps that's in the market right now. Most of the manufacturers will go for...
This is very analytical, I'll interrupt you. This is very analytical. Have you actually looked at the market and said, well, there's a gap for a car called the Sand Racer?
No, not... Yes, we looked at the market definitely, but we came up with the name of the Sand Racer. So the name comes at the end, but there is a gap in the market. Most of the manufacturers going for commercial. There is certain mandates, certain lines they have to follow. And that's why we said, okay, they're not going to fulfill our requirement. Why not doing it ourselves? Let's fill that gap.
So you told us then basically you looked at the business model, you looked at the market and said there's a gap for a car like that. But that doesn't tell me why you have decided to get involved with this project in so many ways. What drove you to get involved and build your own car? We've had so many different answers now. What's yours?
I had someone actually convince me doing this, so yeah, why not?
Hoodwinked him. It sounds like you lost a bet or something. Okay, I'll go start a car company now.
No, it just came to me and I immediately agreed on it, and yes, it was somewhere in my mind, but I just needed someone to click that.
So you need somebody to give you a push.
Yep, a little bit, yeah.
Alright, so before that you were thinking, maybe I'll start a car company, maybe I won't, maybe I'll start a jewelry business, maybe I'll do some doctorates, and no, I'll start a car company.
No, definitely a car company only.
Well, I think we're all familiar with a lot of the really famous names out there in the car business, the likes of Enzo Ferrari, Henry Ford, Soichiro Honda. These are names that Shahzad has written, obviously. Because I don't know the man who started Mazda, but I do know the people who started Toyota and they actually called Toyota. But these were all companies driven by strong personalities. People who basically stood up and said, I'm just going to build a car. I'm going to build a car exactly the way I want. Are those days gone? Do you think the kind of single-minded, driven personalities that build cars, because you're all three very different guys, but you all built cars. Some of you are farther on the line than others, but all of you have got there. Do you think the day of that kind of person is gone? Any of you can answer that, feel free.
No, sorry guys, but yeah, still there, and we still have people, even us or someone like us, they will still insist in building their own car. Why not?
Is it a question of ego?
It's not, no. Why, do you think if you ask now Enzo Ferrari, why did you build a Ferrari? If you saw...
Well, we know why he built a Ferrari. He built it to fund his racing efforts. He really didn't care about road cars. Not many people realize this, but Ferrari didn't actually care about the road cars at all. They were just a means to an end for racing.
Exactly.
What's your excuse?
I need a supercar to drive it in the desert.
Yeah. And Anthony,
it's not there.
We can definitely say it's a bit of ego because your name is on your car. So you didn't call it the Susan, you called it the Generelli.
You know why actually we decided to use my name is because since I'm a kid, everybody tells me it sounds like an Italian car company. You know? So, you know, think about it. When you start a new company, I guess you went through the problem. You think of what could be a good name. You know, in different language. How are you going to build the story? So, in the end, it's simpler to, in a way, to put your name. And if it's attached to a bit of fame through the movies, etc., it helps as well for communication, etc. And
you're definitely one of those guys who design cars, but again, that kind of personality though, do you think you're that kind of type A personality that goes out there and pushes, or are you a different kind of car company CEO?
No, I think I'm pushing. I think even though I'm pushing too much sometimes, because my partner, Frédéric Gillot, I can tell you sometimes they kick me out of the workshop because I'm
like, Anthony, please go home. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, and I guess going to the Enzo Ferrari story, I think it's different time. It's always like maybe a one-man idea, but at the time, Enzo Ferrari could push, and the time were really different. Today, it's more a question of having the good network and trying to get people to follow you. It's a very different attitude than in the 30s.
Are you just personally hoping that in 10, 20 years they'll do a biopic called Gianarelli, the movie?
Not really, because I don't know if you read the biography of Enzo Ferrari. He was not a happy man at all. So.
And all of you seem like still normal people. And finally, I think the most person on this stage that most reminds me of somebody famous is Mustafa, because he reminds me of Soichiro Honda. He's very driven, he's very hands-on. I saw him rolling up his sleeves and building that car and tweaking it till his eyes rolled to the back of his head. Do you think you are a Henry Ford or Soichiro Honda?
I've not read the biographies of these people, so I can't really say. But it does take drive, it does take a lot of determination, it takes a very, very hard head to stick to your guns and believe in something even when everyone else around you might not necessarily share that view. Because all it takes is time and the result, and people will change and their opinions will change. And as we've seen today, I believe if you're on our feet all day long explaining to people that this is actually a car made in the UAE, it's actually been developed here, it's taken us 5 years to get here, and most people have this look of disbelief in their eyes. They're just walking by the stand and they look at this and they think, wow, where did this come from?
Disbelief in their eyes. Okay, I want to take a quick straw poll of all of you guys. Who has said no to you? When you said, I'm going to build a car. Was it your wife? Was it your father? Was it your partner? Was it everybody you met in the street? Quick straw poll. Let's go and see. Let's start with you, Mustafa.
Most people.
Let's get some people. Let's get some action specifics.
This is so long ago that I don't even remember. I mean,
he's being shy now. He doesn't want to say.
It's been in my head for 20 years, so it's been a very long time. But lots of co-workers, lots of friends, acquaintances. Again, they don't believe in it to begin with, but once they see you're serious, once they see the commitment and the result, everything changes.
Everything changes. Anthony, who told you no?
If I have to admit, I can't remember exactly because it's true, because I never really asked, to be honest, and it came very naturally with Frédéric. I was just looking for someone to make a body for
Your
me.
partner told you no?
No, he said just, that's the one who pushed actually for, because
You told yourself no? I'm getting very confused. Are you alright?
Yeah, no, at some point maybe I told myself no, at the beginning actually. You say no, it's not possible, but then you get driven by the thing and you get the support of people and you go on. It's a strange thing, but honestly, I don't know, maybe we have different stories, but for me it wasn't the point, like I didn't dream of being a car manufacturer. For me, it's a bit, as you said, some point with car, Ferrari and racing cars, it's like a mean for me to get my own car on the road,
So you sound like you're really driven by a higher purpose in this case, and potentially the chance of that biopic happening in 20, 25 years. Finally, Mohammed, you had a lot of time to ponder this, so you should have a really good answer.
Yes, it's not people saying no, but actually asking why. I didn't see anyone saying, no, don't do this. No, they say, why are you doing it? That's all what I got. And on the other hand, there's a bunch of people who said, well done, go ahead, continue that, including my bosses in the office.
But the question, you're right about why, because the question I have many times and since the beginning is like, why do you do that in the UAE? And Sometimes, honestly, I struggle to explain why, because again, it's by chance in a way, because I live here and Frederic lived here as well. And here there is clearly a love for cars, so there are some opportunities. But it's true the rest of the world really wonder why we make cars in the UAE, so it could be a good question as well.
That is so beautifully timed, because that's coming up to my next question. We are talking cars, we are talking how to set up your own car company. If you're passing by, please feel free to stop, sit down and listen to us. We're coming to audience questions in a bit, but first of all, just to segue from your previous question, the UAE is a big market, buys a lot of cars. Why aren't people actually building cars here? I mean, this is we see car plants in every part of the world, from Brazil to China to India to Japan, obviously. That's the obvious answers. But even in Africa, you have car plants. So why don't people set up car plants here? And why is it that you guys think you can do it and have done it? Mustafa, let's start with you.
I mean, you can build cars anywhere around the world. Mercedes have proven it, BMW have proven it. Mercedes built cars in China, they built cars in Egypt, and so BMW. So it's just like a computer, you can build it anywhere you want. But it's a question of, like I said, do people want to build cars here? So perhaps before, we're a fast developing country, we've had different priorities over the years. So we've had development, we've had roads, we've had electricity and water and services everywhere. So now we begin to concentrate on the finer things in life, if you like. Cars.
So it's a matter of now we have got down to the point where we bought enough of other people's cars. We're thinking, why don't we have one of our own?
Yes.
Anthony?
We were just discussing before actually.
No conferring, no cheating. He's had to do it on his own.
No, the question is interesting. It's really like I can feel that really today it's a lack of supply chain and there's no industry here. There's no car industry. So I think UAE is missing the point a bit on this. And because it makes things a bit more difficult, a bit longer, so it's like this in the car industry. I don't know. I think we have more than 1,000 parts in our car, and it's a simple car. So can you imagine that?
I've seen Lego sets with more parts than your car.
Yeah.
I think I've built Lego sets that have more parts.
Most of the parts comes from different suppliers, or we make them ourselves.
Do they know you're taking these parts? Are you pinching them at night? How is this working? Tell us more.
So
I believe you're buying them, that's good.
Okay. No, but basically there's a bunch of body and things we make, but it's like any car you have to have suppliers, and here it would be very helpful if we had like a good supply chain, and that's a key point, for anybody who wants to set up a car plant here. And I guess we think there is still an opportunity here, because we are niche manufacturers. We produce small units, a small quantity of cars.
So it's really difficult. There are plenty of challenges involved in setting up a plant out here. Mohammed, again, you need to tell us what your challenges were.
I'm a proud UAE citizen, so nobody asks us, Benz, why you build your car in Germany while Ford built his cars in the US. So it's a natural development. We are UAE bituminous, and this is our home. Why not build a car from home? As simple as that.
That's a very good answer. National pride drove you. But again, it's difficult when there's no infrastructure, the supply chain isn't there, and then again, the country's priority for the car company.
What are you looking for?
We need to get the cars in order, but one at a time.
Yeah, okay. Which one do you want?
Anyone.
Okay.
I like to keep people surprised.
Yeah, go on. Which one?
As if they listen, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so we started off with, it's the Generali. So
It's a lot of emotion. You need to understand what's pleasing you in a car shape, and then it's a bit like if you have an antenna to feel the emotions, and then you draw around the car, and there is as well some philosophy behind the car. For instance, this is
talk us through your car. What is your car meant to evoke? Who is your car designed for?
It's a tribute to the 60s, 70s, where people were, I always say, were still naive about cars. What we wanted is a fast car, a pretty car, and they were made in a simple way. So they were, in a way, filled with much more spirit than today's car. So we wanted to do that, and that's why, as well, here in the UAE, you can make cars by hand, and it becomes relevant. So you can feel all this spirit into this car.
So what are the influences of this car? Because I can see so many different styles of car. Is there a car that you think comes close to this, a Shelby Cobra, or what are you thinking about?
Yeah, in a way, it's like what I wanted to do is you feel frustrated when you see all these vintage cars on paper and you would like to drive them. Obviously, you can't drive all of them. And even if you could own them, you wouldn't be able to experiment them the way they experimented it in the 60s. So you want to feel the same in this car. And many people, it's funny, many people mention the AC Cobra because I think it's more about the spirit than the styling. Because the styling, you have many different influences from Porsche, from the 550, and you don't see this in Lotus as well as basically I had a big bunch of pictures in my head.
So you had a big picture, and we just skipped ahead, but very quickly, what's your drivetrain? Very quickly, for people who are interested.
Okay, it's we use a Nissan V6, and the rest, chassis and components we make in-house.
So just to be clear, it's not a rebodied 370Z.
No, yes, you don't manage to do it.
Well, it is an absolutely beautiful car. Let's have our next car company. Oh, good. It's Mustafa, my favorite person. So this is actually the earlier design, isn't it?
Yes, this is a prototype on the
Look, it's Mustafa.
Yes, Marina Circuit, and my other guys, yes.
So who designed your car?
We looked worldwide for many designs. We looked through hundreds of designs, and we ended up with our own. So the production version is a little different from this. We've tweaked it here locally in Dubai. You can have a look at it in hall number 4, stand number 425, opposite Enoch, just 2 minutes walk from here. And I think you'll agree.
And you should go and check it out. Their car is amazing.
Once you see it, you won't believe that this was done in the UAE. So it has some elements from all over the place. But the key thing is it works well together.
So what were your influences? What was the car you wanted to build? Was it a roadster? Because you seem to have built another sports car, just like Generali.
We identified a niche in the market that we wanted to penetrate. So we're looking at cars that are oriented for track use or marketed as track day cars. Things like Lotus, Caterham, Radical. These are all kind of the cars we were targeting. So we benchmarked many of them. And we believe we ended up with a car that will outperform them all on the track. So stay tuned, production begins early next year, and we will have some figures to back that up.
I apologize, I didn't plan that in advance. But it's quite interesting the differences that are appearing, because you built a car that's like a vintage, classic roadster, sportster. You built a car that's a hardcore track toy. Would you describe it as a track toy?
The version we have on display here is the track version. But if a customer wants it for road use, then we can tone it down. Obviously, we give it a bit more creature comforts, better ground clearance for road use. So we really open, the process last 5 years.
Oh, that's the car right there. That's actually the new Fornos of it.
That is, yes. And again, it looks like nothing else you've seen before. So this we've learned a lot in the past 5 years. So we've got the ability now to engineer and develop things according to our customers' wishes. So if a customer doesn't want this engine, they want another engine, they want different transmission, we can accommodate that and we can do that. But obviously there's penalty with time. So we've got to be patient with them. As I say, with time, development takes time, but we can meet all these requests.
So what's your drivetrain for those people who are interested?
We currently have a 1.4 liter.
This is not an Emirati engine. A 1.4 liter. What is it? Don't tell me it's a 4-cylinder.
I'm not finished yet. It's 360 horsepower at 10,000
Okay, now we're
RPM.
talking.
Alright, and it weighs 70 kilograms. So just for comparison, 70
70
so
kilograms.
for comparison, if you know the Ford EcoBoost, that also makes around 330 horsepower and weighs about 120 kilograms. So our engine is about half the weight of a Ford engine and makes about the same power. So the car overall weighs about 650 kilos. So it's a very lightweight car.
650 kilos.
Yes.
That's incredibly
And
light.
this is in fiberglass body. If you want to go for the carbon fiber body, it'll be even lighter.
Does it become like a plane and lift off then?
No. We haven't given it wings, unlike Red Bull.
There's no Red Bull in this car. So 360 horsepower, you said?
That's right, yes.
You've out-Forded Ford. Maybe I should have called you the Ford guy instead of Honda.
No, we're on very good terms with Ford. They've agreed to supply us with engines, so...
Hang on, this isn't an EcoBoost engine with like your name on it, is it?
No, it's not. You can come and have a look at the engines out of the car, actually. It's on the stand of its own, so please do pass by.
I do recommend you do. So, okay, finally, lucky last.
Actually, I don't know who.
By the way, how dramatic is this picture right now? This is an incredible car. So you've built a complete, unlike these two, you haven't gone for the sporting car. You've said, I want to go in the sand and have a play.
No, it is a sporting car. That's the gap that I told you about. Okay, he's building a car for the track, he's building a car for the road. Now, most of these people will have, especially in the UAE, where you come, drive a Ferrari, drive a Porsche, drive a Lamborghini, and then on the weekend, well, you step in your SUV and you go off-roading, and you spend hundreds of thousands of dirhams upgrading this SUV just to go off-road, while you have a million, 1.5 million, 2 million dirhams car sitting at home. So why not combine these two together and have a super sport
Very efficient,
car?
actually. That's a very efficient idea.
Yeah. So this is a road legal. You can drive it to the office.
It's
drive
road
it to-
legal.
Yes,
And I
it
imagine
is.
all your cars are road legal as well, gentlemen.
Yes.
So, yeah, which is, again, you can drive it home, then when you decide to go off-roading, you can. On top of that, there's a small addition to that car and makes it an FIA approved for cross-country rallies. Without any
FIA
other
approved as
changes.
well.
Yes.
So what was your design inspiration? What was your spirit animal when it comes to this car? Anthony generally?
He's the designer.
Hang on, hang on. Nobody told me that Anthony designed two of the cars on stage. When poor Mustafa was thinking, I could have had Anthony design my car as well. Apparently he's doing it.
We didn't know each other before. So.
So now we have two it's a generally one, a generally two. Clearly Anthony does get around with the design. So I was thinking this looked a bit familiar. So this is the Generali Sand Racer. It's the SUV.
I can say one thing a little bit funny is that you know, you remember when Porsche launched their SUV, and after BMW launched the BMW X6, and you know, everybody says Porsche should have done a coupe version with the rear of a Carrera, you know. So that's why I was trying to implement in this car. So that's why we have the swooping line at the back. And another funny thing as well, check the latest Ferrari, I don't know how they call it, 612, no. The one replacing the F12. And you will see
It's the super fast.
yeah, super fast. The structure is
It's a great name, and I say that very cynically, but go on.
So basically, I mean, where Mohamed is right is like it's really like a supercar for the same. So it was designed in my mind as a supercar. Then we had big wheels.
But talking to the man who cut the check, why did you pick him? Sudden silence,
He's
sudden
very good.
silence.
He's very good.
He's very good. Did you think you didn't want to have a go and draw something yourself?
Again,
Did you
comes
give
back-
a spec a brief?
It's yeah, of course we had the brief, but again we.
So what was
we're
the brief?
talking
Share it
about-
with us for the first time at the Dubai Motor Show. What was the brief? It was a
I
car
need a
quality car that wasn't
crossover,
it?
super sport car that goes on the road and off road.
And
As
a
brief as that.
two-seater, it's important for the design.
Yeah.
Why didn't you make a four-seater in case you want to take the kids?
Two-seater.
Why didn't you make a
That's-
four-seater?
We have to leave it room for improvement. I'm not going to stick with one model here. So the next one will be 4 doors. The next one might be electric. You never know. A hybrid.
So now you're talking the Dubai Motorsport language. You're already green cars, electric cars.
Of course.
That gets us right onto
And
building.
I don't want to neglect the other side of the design, which is the actual chassis of the design. This is a tube frame chassis, purpose-built and designed for Zaru only by a very famous motorsport company.
It's so famous, he's forgotten their name.
Compass.
Thank goodness.
There's a lot of names happening, and I'm just preparing them to come up.
That's
So
really good
Compass,
because we're talking about engineering next, and really car building. I mean, what you said is I've drawn a car, then just put an engine, put a chassis, put some axles, we're done, right? We're done. What's the big deal?
I hope it's that easy.
So what
It's
was it
not.
like? What was the next part for you for actually
Of course,
engineering the car?
After designing the chassis, then combining that chassis.
You got the
with this
photocopy from him
design.
or the print?
No. So combining this chassis with this beautiful body and design, and with an amazing interior and high-end interior, and fitting an engine that we tried about 4 or 5 engines and 2 or 3 gearboxes.
Okay, be honest. How many engines did you blow up in the process of trying this?
It's not blowing up. It's will it fit the purpose that we want the car for? Is it giving enough power? Is it reliable enough?
What is the engine in your car?
It's a V8 LS3 516
Wow, we have so many different approaches here. We're so
6.2
fortunate. We have
liters, yeah. and,
6.2 liter LCU LS3, the thing.
525 horsepower.
525 horsepower.
Yes, and a sequential gearbox, 6-speed, and a very big suspension.
Very big suspension. Is that a company or there's a name?
About 28 inches travel.
28 inches of ground travel.
And you can do two setups. You can do the off-road setup, or you can do the road version setup, which you lower.
Is it the Satwa low setup? Or?
Yes, you can do the low setup, easily done, half an hour, and that's it.
Half an hour, but I don't like to do manual labor. I want a car that actually drives everywhere. That means leads me to Anthony, whose car is set up very differently. Because your car is set up for touring, street racing. What is your car set up for? How did you engineer it?
Again, what I'm explaining all the time, I don't want to read we can't be a technological company straight away because we would compete with OEM, etc. So my point is really like what you want to experience is emotions. So emotions is not about lap time or power, etc. It's just about what you feel at the wheel, you know? And so I wanted to combine this plus the fact that you want to own a beautiful shape. You want to be proud of what you get in front of you. So for me that was the goal. And this car, again, going back to the 60s, 70s, I have in mind, we all have in mind Steve McQueen, the way you jump in your car and you either go on the track or you go in intercity night and etc. So the point is that you can be fast on the track, you won't be the fastest on the track, but you will be fast. And same in real life, you will have fun in your car. It won't be the most comfortable for sure, but it will be the one.
You just said your car is not comfortable or the most comfortable.
Yeah, it won't be the most comfortable.
Well, at least he's honest, people. He's honest that his
because
car
that's
is...
not what you want. If you want to feel emotions behind the wheel, you don't want to be in comfort, no?
Yeah, but if I want discomfort, I'll go to a Turkish bath. I won't go and build a car company.
Exactly.
So, we're talking about people. How did you engineer your car then? Did you buy in the talent? Did you go and look for the best people? Did you hire them? How did you decide about how to build the car?
I started to design the chassis because from my background, and that's why I could combine. What I wanted is to combine the design, exterior shape with the chassis as well, and make sure it would fit perfectly together, and it would be kind of simple to produce. And then we work with some engineers here as well. And actually we worked a bit with Campus Racing for the suspension. And we kept developing in-house the car, and we have engineers in-house as well who are developing the car with us.
Sounds like a really tricky process. And then there's Mustafa, all on his own, who did a lot of the engineering of the car, I know. I mean, for you, it was obviously you don't have the resources that these guys do as well. So it was a big challenge, but the car is now done. So tell us about that journey.
I like doing things myself. So we tried doing.
Do you not trust people? Do you have trust issues?
You could put it that one way. Another way of putting it is control issues. I like to have
control issues. Brilliant.
Yes. So because you have to control quality. Why do people have these ISO standards? Why do people have? So we looked like we started off doing things ourselves. Whatever we couldn't do ourselves, we would direct, try and outsource again under our close supervision, under our direction. So everything was designed and engineered under our supervision. We've got a student from UAE University in Al Ain, a local student who's doing an MSc project on our chassis, so he's doing some analysis.
That's really cool. Tell us about that.
We're trying to involve, the local population in it because there's a lot of talent in UAE. There's a lot of skill over here, but it's a bit of raw talent. So, for instance, we wanted to find, define the properties of our chassis and try and optimize it in advanced software. So the UAE is slowly acquiring such software for use in aerospace industry, the space industry. So we are working, like say, with an employee actually at Strata Aerospace who's studying at UAE University. So his master's project is about our car and our chassis. That's one little way in which we're developing this talent locally, so we can actually say this car has been actually engineered and designed and analyzed over here.
So I'm getting the impression that you got a lot of students and made them build your car for free.
I as a student benefited greatly from going on placement and doing internships at many different places. So I'm trying to return the favor and offer the opportunity for students to work with us and put their name onto something valuable. And you'd be surprised how much time and effort students put in once they believe in something.
I think that's amazing, person, that you gave people the opportunity to work on your car. That's very brave. But how many things on the car did you design yourself, specifically you, Mustafa?
It's called oversight. Alright, so there's so many things I do. I'm skilled in 3D and 2D CAD software, but again, there's a question of time and efficiency. If I spend my time designing the chassis and the body and the suspension, everything would be done by 2020 or 2030. So you have to take a more efficient route. You have to keep tabs on things. So I'm not the most efficient designer or engineer or anything. So that's why I've not designed everything on the car, but I know every little detail.
I like that word, oversight. So we're talking about how to set up your own car company. We're winding up now. But the last question actually, before we turn to audience questions, I want to know, and I want you all to be as honest as possible. What were the surprises for you along the way? Things that you didn't expect. It can be anything. It can be difficulty in sourcing things. It can be a lack of manpower, lack of talent, resources. It can be difficulty in understanding government regulations. Let's start with you, Mustafa. What was your biggest challenge?
One of the surprising things in the world of materials was the choice, say, for body panels. I mean, when you talk about composites, people think that fiberglass is just fiberglass. But when we actually enter the world of composites, we discover that there is fiberglass and there is fiberglass.
So I like the way you put it. I like his little careful intonation.
It's very, there isn't just carbon and glass reinforced plastics. There's all kinds of different glues that hold the fabric together. There's different fabrics, there's different makes of fabric, properties of fabric, and so on. The way you orient them, the way you lay them up, the way whether you heat them afterwards or not, these all affect the performance. So it's a whole wide world out there. So you've got to be very careful when you come to materials and material choice.
I mean, it sounds like a heck of a challenge. Anthony, what was your biggest challenge?
I guess it's time planning, because when you develop something, it's always very difficult to imagine how long it's going to take.
You use like long lunches. Is that your problem?
Sorry?
Do you have long lunches or long siestas and you just don't have any time?
Oh, really?
So it's time management is your big problem when it comes to a project of this size and this scale.
Yeah, because again, because coming from design, I designed different things in my life, and everybody said like designing a car, overall, I mean engineering, everything. You have so many parts, so many pieces to assemble together that in the end, and you need everything to work perfectly in harmony with each other. So it's time consuming to be able to make everything at once. And the other problem is like the standards are very high in the industry. If you see all the OEM cars around you, they're not very expensive, and you have a lot of materials for the price, a lot of engineering for the price. So what we are trying is to match this, and obviously it takes time, it takes a lot of effort. So that's always something people don't comprehend at the beginning. For instance, just making a door closing and opening easily is already a long task.
Sounds like it's a huge job to develop a car company from scratch, when you have to deliver and develop that expertise in-house and match standards, because your customers are coming from Mercedes, Toyotas, Nissans. They are expecting that standard, and a UAE built car, you have one shot to impress them. Mohammed, what was your biggest challenge? And was it not naming the car the Mohammed?
How long do we have?
As long as you like.
Well, I have to acknowledge whatever challenges they have, and we have to add on a lot of things actually, including supply chain. If you want to do a production of a car, it's not building one-off, it's the supply chain who actually can accept the demand that we're going to have on it. Then you have to regularities about cars and how you were licensing them and how you accredit them. There is a challenge of technicalities, finding the right talent, the right people to do whatever we have in our minds here. Because as everybody, we are included, that we are very picky about what we want, and we have to be very careful about the details that we're going to produce. We've rejected a lot of things, and that's one of the many reasons that made us actually delay our launch of our car, because we're not happy with the final product here. So we have to fine-tune, find the right talent, find the right people, the material, the time, So it's a lot.
So you just copied all of their answers and just said it again.
Yeah, but again, because
But you are absolutely right.
these are the
Absolutely
challenges
right.
that we
I
have.
think your level of perfectionism and detail is going to pay off at some point with a car that you're going to be proud of, don't you think?
That's what I hope so. Yeah, definitely.
So we're going to throw the floor open to the audience. If you have any questions about how to start your own car company, please raise your hand and somebody will get a microphone to you. So don't be shy. Oh, we got one right away. Straight ahead. Go.
Alex, can you grab a mic?
So the lovely Alex is rushing because she's well trained to get you a microphone. Can you just say who
Thank
you
you.
are, sir?
Yeah, Walid. I passed by and I remembered Anthony. Nice car he has. I have one question to Mr. Muhammad. He said you can drive the car to office, and if you don't want to, you can drive it in desert and to office if you wish. I'd just like to know if it's already licensed to be driven on the road. Does it have a vehicle identification number? Because mainly this is the problem. I also checked with Mr. Mustafa back on his stand, and I really don't know what is the process to license your car and make it road legal.
Okay, so this question was, if I understand correctly, are these cars road legal and licensed and have a VIN number, which is actually a very good question. To you, Mohammed?
From our side, yes, it is. It does have a VIN number. It is approved to be licensed, and you can. It's what we call it homologated. And homologation have to be different part of the world, different homologations. So for order for you to understand where you're going to register the car, you have to follow these homologations. So to be frank and to be honest, we are almost all over the world homologated, except the North American, especially USA.
And Mustafa as well, he asked you if your car is road legal and has a VIN yet.
We've actually spoke about this at length in our stand. I won't bore you with the details, but there is an international standard for VIN numbers, and there's a national authority that's concerned with specifications. So we've been informing this authority of our progress for the last 5 years. So we know the process clearly, and we're going to go through it when we get to that stage.
So it's a question of time till all these cars are on the road legal. Alright, can we have another question from the audience about how to build a car company? Does anybody have a question? Just put up your hand. Any question is good. Oh, Alex has a question.
Yeah, I have a question. I wanted to know how difficult is it to design a vehicle within the parameters of being able to get that VIN number? Because, you know, over the years we've seen a difference in design, and I wonder how much of that difference is down to having to design something that is going to pass all the safety regulations.
Don't rush all at once to answer that.
I didn't follow the end of the question, but the question was: is it difficult? So difficulty, yes, it's difficult. And after, as Mohamed explained, we don't have like a worldwide standard yet. So